So you're prepping for the AWS Certified Cloud Practitioner exam, and you've landed on a topic that is guaranteed to pop up: support plans. Getting these questions right is just crucial. So let's break down exactly what you need to know to nail those questions and lock in those points.
Okay, but first, a quick heads up you really need to know about. AWS is actually changing its support lineup in 2027, and they're getting rid of some of the plans we're about to talk about. So you might be thinking, wait, why do I care if my exam is now? Well, it's because the core ideas, the service levels, all that stuff, it forms the foundation of everything. And that foundation is exactly what the current exam is going to test you on. Here's our game plan. We're going to start with the free basic plan. That's the foundation for literally everyone. Then we'll climb the ladder to the paid tiers, developer and business. From there, we'll explore what makes the enterprise plan so different. And then, this is the important part, we'll zero in on the key comparisons for your exam and wrap it all up with a simple way to figure out the right plan for any exam scenario they throw at you. All right, let's start with the absolute baseline. The second you create an AWS account, boom, you're on the basic support plan. It's free, it's foundational, and it's really important to know what it actually gets you. And maybe even more importantly, what it doesn't. So what's in the box with Basic? Well, think of it as help with the account, not the code. You get 24/7 support for things like billing questions or asking to raise your service limits. You also get access to all the docs, white papers, and the personal health dashboard. But here it is, the #1 takeaway for the exam. You get zero hands-on technical support. If your application breaks, you are on your own. So what happens when you do need that technical help? Well, that's when you've got to open your wallet. Let's jump into the first two paid tiers, developer and business. These really cover the whole spectrum, from just playing around in the early stages to running live, honest-to-goodness applications. Just look at the huge leap between these two. Developer is for when you're just messing around, right? Experimenting. You get email support, but only during business hours, which is fine for questions that aren't on fire. But business, that's when things get serious. It unlocks 24/7 support through phone, email, and chat. And here's the absolute key differentiator: a 1-hour response guarantee if your production system goes down. That is a total game changer. And hey, just as a little peek into the future, it's worth knowing how this is evolving. The new Business Support Plus plan that's coming is going to build on this, adding cool stuff like AI-powered assistance and, get this, cutting that critical 1-hour response time down to just 30 minutes. It just kind of shows you where things are headed for production support. Now we're climbing to the top of the mountain, enterprise support. This is for when downtime isn't just an oops, it's a full-blown oh no, the business is losing serious money kind of problem. We're talking business-critical and mission-critical stuff. And the big shift here is moving from just reactive help to proactive, white-glove, personalized guidance. Okay, the single most important feature of enterprise support, and a term you absolutely positively need to have burned into your brain for the exam, is the Technical Account Manager, or TAM. This isn't just a random person on a helpline. A TAM is a dedicated expert, a real person who works with you proactively to make your architecture better, tighten your security, and even find ways to save you money. This slide right here, this is a classic exam question in the making. Let's really spell it out. Enterprise On-Ramp gives you access to a pool of TAMs, but full enterprise, that gives you a designated TAM. Think about what that means. One person who gets to know your environment, your goals, your challenges, inside and out. That dedicated expertise, plus a response time that plummets to under 15 minutes for critical issues, that's the essence of top-tier support. Okay, let's pull all of this together. Seriously, if you've been multitasking, now is the time to focus up. This next section is pure gold for your exam prep. We're going to put the most important features side by side so you can see the whole story nice and clear. All right, first things first, let's talk about a super important tool called AWS Trusted Advisor. It's basically like having a little AWS expert sitting on your shoulder, constantly scanning your setup and giving you advice on how to save money, improve security, and boost performance. But how much advice you get is tied directly to your support plan. And this chart, it lays it all out, crystal clear. With Basic and Developer, you only get 7 core checks. It's a start, but the second you upgrade to Business, you unlock the full set of over 480 checks. I mean, that is a massive, massive leap in the amount of automated best practice guidance you're going to get. This table is your ultimate cheat sheet for the exam. Let's just trace the story here. Notice how the architectural guidance goes from just general advice to contextual and consultative. It gets more personal as you go up. And see how TAM access just pops into existence at the enterprise levels. And look right there in the business column. That's the magic tier where you suddenly get support for third-party software and API access. Use this to really study the key unlocks at each level. This quote just nails it, doesn't it? It all boils down to two things: how fast do you need help, and how deep does that help need to be? And for the Cloud Practitioner exam, nothing screams speed more than the technical support response times, the SLAs.
Okay, if there is one table you are going to screenshot or memorize, this is it, for real. Let's focus on the critical stuff. See the jump from business hours on the developer plan to 24/7 with the business plan? Now look at those bottom two rows. This is where the money is for exam questions. A production system down gets a response in under an hour with business. But for a business-critical system, you need enterprise. That gets you a 30-minute response with on-ramp or an absolutely incredible 15-minute response with full enterprise. Let that sink in for a second. Less than 15 minutes. When your entire business, your reputation, your revenue is on the line because something is critically down, that is the speed at which AWS commits to responding with their top plan. Remember this number. It is the fastest SLA they offer.
All right, the final piece of the puzzle. You've got all this info swirling in your head. So how do you actually use it to pass the exam? Well, you're going to get scenario questions. So let's build a super simple mental flowchart to get them right every single time. And here it is. This is the dead simple logic you need. If the exam question mentions testing or experimenting, boom, it's the developer plan. If it says production workloads, your go-to answer is business. If you see the words business critical and they need TAM advice, you're looking at enterprise on-ramp. And if it's mission critical and they need the absolute fastest response time and a designated TAM, it's always the enterprise plan.
So I'll leave you with this one last thought. The exam, yeah, it's going to test you on the features and the response times. But as you move forward in your cloud journey, start thinking about support plans this way. Are you just buying a safety net, or are you investing in a strategic accelerator? Understanding that difference is the key to making the right choice, both on the exam and out in the real world. Good luck.